we can figure this out. Here you go, left or right? I'm gonna go left. I must be rebuilding the bridge. Left turn signal. You know what? I don't understand why they have that. There's no need for that anymore. They close the road. Bedroom furniture in the there. I believe there will eventually be a crossing. I don't know why that person is just hanging out there. Is a bridge. I don't know if it's open. I have traffic on this map. I'll advance. And that can get me across the access to it. Provided by mobile. That it's not say that I'm not saying no, that's my service provider. Is going across. The roads are blocked. I think there's a law that says they can't redirect detours in certain streets. In this case, they're trying to push you onto the interstate, which I'm trying to avoid this time of day because of the traffic. I did not know that the road was closed. But that's okay. Taking me to parts of the dot that I haven't been to, in case you're not familiar. We're in Wyandotte County, Kansas, and the nickname is called The Dot, D-O-T-T-E. We're close to the old Gateway Western yards. Look at all the train wheels here. Either be recycled or returned. Not returned as in returned, but maybe the proper, yeah, there's a Gateway Western yard there, I think. The proper phrase is turned, as in on a lathe made round again. And probably have the bearings replaced, repacked, basically rebuilt. There's really nothing to train wheels. And the funny thing is that a lot of people don't realize there's nothing that holds them together. The only thing that holds the train wheel on a train, on the cars, I believe the locomotives, they actually are bolted and stuff. Tacos, tortas, Taqueria El Camino Real. El Camino Real is like the major highway across the Southwest. I don't believe there's one El Camino Real. I think there was a bunch of roads that they called El Camino Real. To Albuquerque, New Mexico. But I believe it went really essentially from now probably all the way to California. Bar None Lounge. How you doing, Dongs? Where's Miss Stella? Stella. There you are, Miss Stella. I smell like burning wood. Maybe there was a house fire around here. There's in these old wooden houses. A lot of rental properties, a lot of shacks. And then there's a lot of houses that the owners really take care of them and their yards. It's a mixed bag out here. A lot of working class Mexican immigrant families and other parts of South and Central America. Mostly Mexico. And this area's had a lot of Spanish immigrants for a long time. Spanish immigrants, Mexican immigrants were brought to this part of the country by the railroads. They worked as labor on the railroads, and a lot of them considered them to be very good jobs, and they immigrated to a lot of blue. Quickies, burgers, and fries. With a picture of a sexy waitress. Oh, chicken, Italian steak. I have to give that place a try. Old school. That's not a drive-in, that's like a drive-up. There's no awning or a place to park and eat your meal. You kind of drive up, get your food, and go, I think. There's like an old live truck. I wonder if that's one of the live trucks I used to drive. Alright, here we are, 7th Street. That was quite the detour. And this place is just growing and growing. The audio alarms, custom wheel and tire, audio, video, graphics, accessories, tint. I remember when it was just a corner shack. Now it's kind of grown. I did not realize when I left so late that I was going to have this detour. I'm trying to avoid traffic. and still figure out the shortest route home, which takes me right through KCK. Fahrenheit. Nice view of downtown over the rail yards. Man, looks like the rail yards they've been tearing, mostly empty rail yards. I-670 corridor goes straight. It's actually kind of one. Wow, look at this green food truck. Pretty intense there. Here's is that a food truck or is that like a homemade motorhome? Six of one, half dozen of the other. I wonder if this little coffee house that's up here is still in business. I glance that way, but I don't intend on going that way. I can't see. It looks like it, maybe. You know, right now I could train to be a truck driver. They say they make about $75,000 a year now, which is quite a lot. Of course, you pay for it. You're away from home a lot, and I don't know. Trucks seem like they would be a huge pain in the ass to drive around. They say there's going to be a fuel shortage this summer, not because of lack of gasoline, but for lack of drivers to transport the gasoline. Most gasoline gets transported via truck. And the economy is about to snap for everything, and there's influenza situation where drivers were in short supply, and now it's going to get even worse. So yeah, the effects of this beerfluenza epidemic are still being felt. I think the way to really drive a truck is to do it with a partner, one on, one off, faster and get it done quicker. But it's hard to find a partner and hard to find somebody you can get along with. In that situation, hygiene becomes very important. Here's a husband and wife, truck drivers. I don't know, that would be... You'd really have to be able to get along with each other. And most husbands and wives don't get along that well. And I would hope I wouldn't work for one of those ball buster companies. They expect you to get across country in 5 hours. Because I'd be low and slow. It's not worth it trying to kill yourself and other people to go 80 miles an hour everywhere. It seems like most truck companies, that's the way they prefer it too. They want everybody to be safe, and a lot of truck drivers are very frustrated. I don't know if you've ever noticed that truckers try to build up speed going downhill because they got to make it up the next hill. And a lot of trucks are, from what I gather from listening to truckers talk when I was at the truck repair place with the Navion, a lot of them built into them, to the engine, so they don't go very fast. They say that a maximum speed a lot of them can go, I think, is 65, 70 miles an hour, which these days there's a lot of roads out west that actually have speed limits of 80. And so, the trucks, they don't like it when you get in the lane in front of them and you're going slow, because then they can't build up the speed they need to get up the next hill. Worse are those mountain roads. You see trucks on the side of the roads with their 20 miles an hour up the mountains, and to me that's just a matter of patience. The worst part, the scary part, is going downhill. We're in the Quindaro area of Kansas City, Kansas. Texas Tom Burgers. That is getting to be an old Mercedes. Turbo. Opportunity to say that my internet service provider that I pay for. I've noticed when they're known to have a connection is horrible, and I think example of divestment, which one could argue is racism. You want to see a living example of racism, just drive around in the urban parts of town and see how your internet connection speeds are. do believe that a good investment in our country's future would be a broadband superhighway that everybody can get on and use for no, well, I won't say free, because there's no free in it, but publicly funded. So a friend of mine would argue, well, I've seen how a lot of these people are using the internet. Great, you're going to publicly fund people's porn habits, or you're going to publicly fund these right-wing seditionists or left-wing seditionists. Let's not forget those. They exist too. And I'm like, well, we believe in free speech and everything, but I think that superhighway like that, you might be prone to find yourself more aptly watched misusing a public service to push an anti-public agenda. And that could even be an argument for publicly funded broadband superhighway. So when people know, well, the things I do on the internet are not necessarily going to be completely private. If I do illegal activity, I'd definitely be watched. Some say, well, that's the surveillance state. That's denying people their free speech. And I'm like, no, not necessarily. You gotta understand the nature of free speech. Free speech is protected speech. There are certain things you can't say or do. You can't go around threatening people. You can't sell malicious lies that could cause harm. Although people do, and they get away with it because we don't seem to understand the nature of political expedience. People that go around and tell malicious lies that cause harm, when the harm highway, I'm on the net neutrality as long as it's a pay-to-play system. And we definitely need net neutrality. I do believe net neutrality is an integral part of free and protected speech. Other than the detours, I did pretty well avoiding the big traffic tie-ups. There's one right behind me I can see. Big old exclamation point right at the junctions up here in the Northland. If I tried to go through downtown and north, it'd be bumper to bumper, stop and go, road rage traffic. So it's worth it to go across town. And if you know your way around, I believe it, you know, part of it is the explorer in me. Routes. People yell at me, "Oh, you always go the long way." I'm like, well, no, I don't go the long way. I figure out the different routes. But sometimes I feel like taking it a different way than the most direct way. So a lot of times the most direct way is the longest way. Because everybody wants to take the same a narrow path. And a lot of people don't know any other detours, so they're stuck there. And that pathway becomes blocked or dangerous. There's been many examples of that, especially in winter. People trying to up, especially on the bridges, and there's a big pile up. People drive right into it. If you could take the secondary routes, a lot of times they're just as well maintained. Because everybody else is on the other routes, then you have less traffic to deal with. It's an interesting truck. Benjamin Franklin, the punctual plumber. I don't think I've ever seen a box like that. The truck itself is a cab over on frame design. The box may be a custom build. It's not to say, you know, you take secondary routes, you can get yourself in just as much trouble. Some well-maintained roads, just depends on the situation. And sometimes it's just, all right, I'm gonna stop and wait out the way. I tell you, it was really rough. Electricity. Stop and be stuck. Well, anyways, that's a doggy. We're here. We're